Alright, today we're going to start looking at adjectives. We're not going to cover all of our adjectives today, just because there are a lot of them, but we'll start with 10. Before we can start looking at translations, it's important that we know what an adjective is. Hopefully you know that an adjective is a description word, and it's describing specifically a noun, so a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. In French, adjectives are going to go after the noun that they are describing. So let's look at an example of what that looks like. Easy adjectives are always colors. So let's pick a simple one. The color blue in French becomes bleu. Pretty easy. So let's say that we want to describe a notebook, le cahier. If we want to say the blue notebook, how are we going to put those two together? You should put the adjective blue after the notebook, le cahier bleu. Let's look at some of our vocabulary words to practice. So starting with the word for shy, we're going to say timide. Timide. Pretty easy to remember since it's a cognate with the English word timid. The word for thin, this can be pronounced one of two ways. Where I studied, most people say mince. Mince. The word for annoying, pénible. 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 One of our words for nice, we will have nice and kind separately. But for nice, we're going to go with simpa. Simpa. And then young. In French, we say jeune. Jeune. So let's practice using just these 5 in a sentence before we move on. So how would you say, I am shy? You should say, je suis timide. Je suis, I am, timide, shy. Let's try one with a noun directly next to our adjective. How would you say, she is a nice girl? You should have, elle est une fille sympa. Elle est, she is. And then remember, our girl has to go in front of nice because girl is the noun. So a girl, une fille, and then nice, sympa. Let's look at 5 more adjectives, but these are going to become slightly more complicated. So starting with the word for elderly or old. I know it's not the next one on your papers, just find it. It's kind of closer to the bottom. Okay, our word in French is âgé. Âgé. Pretty easy to remember since it looks like age. Âgé. But this isn't the only word that we have for elderly or old. This is our base word. We also have âgé. Exact same thing, but with another E on the end. Âgé and âgé. So what's the difference? Adjectives must agree in gender with the word or the person that they're describing. So, when I'm talking about an old guy, I'm going to say âgé with just one E. When I'm talking about an old lady, I'll say âgée with two E's. Anything that we add an extra E onto helps make it feminine. Now, this isn't true for all of our adjectives. You saw on the first 5 that those didn't change at all. Those first 5 adjectives will always stay the same no matter who or what you're talking about. But all the rest of these adjectives are going to change based on if the person or the word you're describing is masculine or feminine. The base word is always the masculine word, and the most common way to make something feminine is to add an E onto the end. So let's look at how this works in practice. If we want to describe Bob and we want to say Bob is old, how are you going to do that? Bob est âgé. Pretty simple. But now what if we want to talk about Sue? We want to say that Sue is old. Sue est âgée. It sounds the same, but we must note the difference in between Bob being a guy and Sue being a girl by adding that extra E onto the end of the feminine adjective. Let's look at a few more adjectives that do this exact same thing. So starting with the word funny. Our masculine form will be marrant. Marrant. When we add our E to make it feminine though, we get marrante. Marrante. Note that unlike elderly or old, where we had âgé and âgée, and the two adjectives sounded the same but they were spelled differently, other adjectives like funny will change the way they're pronounced because you put the E on the end. The masculine version, marrant, does not sound the same as marrante, the feminine version. Âgé, âgée, marrant, marrante. Intelligent does the exact same thing as funny. It is a cognate, so when we're discussing an intelligent guy, we're going to say intelligent. Pretty easy. The hardest part about this is remembering to say it with a Frenchy accent. Intelligent. Il est intelligent. But when we're talking about a girl, elle est intelligente. Intelligent, intelligente. If someone is small or short, note that this version of short will only apply to people. We have a different kind of short if we're talking about like short hair. But if a person is small or short and they are a guy, then they are petit. Petit, petit. If they are a girl, however, they become petite. Petite. We actually use this word in English as well. We just don't pronounce it with the correct accent. Ever hear someone say that they're petite? Yeah, same word. petite. All right, and then our last brand new adjective we're going to do today is the word tall. Our base masculine form is grand, grand. And when we add the E to make it feminine, grande, grande. All right, let's practice with a couple more sentences. If we wanted to say, Greg is funny, how are you going to tell us that Greg is funny? You should say, Greg est marrant. Greg is marrant. We need the male version of funny here because Greg's obviously a dude. Greg est marrant. What if you want to say that Madame Fleer is tall? Kind of. How are we going to say Madame Fleer is tall? You should have Madame Fleer est grande. Madame Fleer est, Madame Fleer is. And then we need the feminine version of tall because I am, of course, a girl. Madame Fleer est grande. Let's try a really hard one. How about I am a smart student? How are you going to brag about yourself? I am a smart student. The correct answer is, it depends. If you're a dude, you should say, je suis, I am. And then we're going to flip the words smart and student because smart is an adjective describing a student. Okay, so a guy will say, je suis un élève intelligent. If you are a girl, however, you have to make that entire thing feminine. Je suis une élève intelligente. So in order to make the sentence go from masculine to feminine, we have two different changes we have to make. The A and the smart both change based on gender.